I ran my hand over the smooth hood of the brand new Mustang in my showroom, watching the overhead lights turn its paint into liquid fire. The customer had just left, deal closed, papers signed. Another sale that would make my team cheer in the group chat. I stood there a moment longer, letting the satisfaction sink in. This place, the smell of leather seats, the faint hum of the detailing machines in the back, it was my kingdom now. The kind of place the girl I used to be never thought she'd own. My phone buzzed on the desk, lighting up with a name I hadn't seen in months.
Mom.
I froze, thumb hovering over the screen. For a second, I wasn't standing in my sleek dealership in Dallas. I was 19 again, standing in our driveway, tears stinging my eyes while Dad signed over the title to the only car I'd ever loved. I take a deep breath, smoothing the sleeve of my silk blouse, grounding myself in the present. I swipe to answer. "Hey, sweetheart," Mom says. "Your father and we were thinking of stopping by. We need to talk." My stomach knots. Whatever this is, it's about to drag the past I've kept buried right into my gleaming showroom. I can still remember the way the gravel crunched under my sneakers that afternoon. It was late summer, Texas heat clinging to my skin, cicadas screaming in the oak trees. My little silver Honda sat in the driveway, washed and gleaming, because I'd just spent my whole Saturday morning scrubbing it. I heard the voices before I saw them, Mom and Dad, standing near the porch, talking in those low, serious tones they used whenever it was about money. I walked closer, keys jingling in my hand. "What's going on?" I asked. Dad glanced at me, guilt flashing across his face, then cleared his throat. We sold the car, Emily." The world tilted. "What?" Mom stepped in, her tone calm, almost rehearsed. "Sweetheart, we needed the money. Your brother's tuition is due, and honestly, that car was a luxury we couldn't afford right now." "It wasn't a luxury." My voice cracked. "It was mine. I paid for half of it with my job at the diner." "Half isn't all," Dad interrupted, sharper now. "You're still under our roof, our rules. You'll manage without it." I felt the lump in my throat grow so big it hurt. My fingers were shaking so hard the keys slipped to the ground. I ran inside before they could see me cry. Later that night, I sat on my bed, staring at the empty key hook by my door. My phone buzzed, a text from my grandmother, who always seemed to know when I needed her. "They can take your car, baby girl," she wrote, "but they can't take your drive. Build yourself a garage so full they'll never keep up." I pressed the phone to my chest, tears soaking my pillow. Something hardened in me that night, a quiet, burning decision. If they could take away the thing I loved most, I'd make sure no one could ever do that to me again. I didn't know how or when, but one day, I'd have more cars than I knew what to do with. The very next morning, I woke up before dawn and applied for every job I could find that paid better than waitressing. I didn't care what it was, as long as it got me closer to buying another car, on my own terms. My first break came when I landed a receptionist job at a small used car lot just outside Dallas. It wasn't glamorous. The office smelled like motor oil and burnt coffee, and the owner, Rick, wore grease-stained jeans every day. But it was a start. I kept my head down, learned everything. How financing worked, how to read an auction sheet, how to tell when a clean title wasn't so clean. I stayed late, sweeping floors, organizing keys, just to listen to the salesman talk. One night, when I thought no one was watching, I was practicing their pitch in the mirror of the dingy bathroom. Rick caught me. "You want to sell cars, Em?" he asked, leaning against the doorframe. My heart nearly stopped. I think I could." He grinned. "Then you're up on Saturday. Don't screw it up." I didn't. I sold my first car to a single mom who needed something reliable for her kids. When she hugged me in the lot, thanking me, I knew I'd found something I was good at. From there, it was a grind, long days, weekends, no vacations. I saved every commission check, every tip, every tax refund. The day I bought my first car outright, a beat-up Civic I flipped for a $1,200 profit, I cried in the parking lot. Not because it was fancy, but because it was mine. Within 2 years, I had built a little side hustle buying and selling used cars on Facebook Marketplace. Rick noticed. Instead of firing me, he offered advice. "Go legit, kid," he said one night as we locked up. "Get a dealer's license. You've got the hustle for it. Don't waste it." So I did. It wasn't easy. Paperwork, fees, inspections. I worked double shifts, lived on ramen noodles, and said no to every party invite my friends sent me. When I finally got my license and rented a tiny corner lot with just 3 cars parked side by side, it felt like standing at the edge of a dream. And I didn't tell my parents. When Mom called, asking how things were going, I'd just say, busy. When Dad texted, I'd keep it polite but short. I wasn't ready for them to see what I was building. Not yet. Because deep down, I wanted them to see it when it was undeniable, when the girl whose car they sold was running an entire lot of her own. They showed up on a quiet Tuesday afternoon unannounced. I saw their familiar SUV pull into the lot through the big glass windows of my office. For a second, I considered hiding, letting one of my salespeople handle it, but something inside me straightened. Today was the day. I walked out of my office, heels clicking against the glossy tile floor. My employees glanced at me, curious, but kept working. Mom stepped out first, shielding her eyes from the Texas sun. Dad followed, moving slower than I remembered, lines of age deeper on his face. "Emily," Mom said, smiling nervously. "Wow, this place is beautiful." "Thanks," I said, my voice calm. "Welcome to my dealership." They looked around, taking it all in. The row of polished SUVs gleaming under the lights, the sales awards framed on the wall, the giant banner with my name at the top. Miller Auto Group, family-owned and proud. Dad's eyes lingered on the sign. You own this?" I nodded. "Every car, every desk, every inch of this building. It's mine." For a moment, no one spoke. Mom blinked, her mouth opening and closing like she was searching for the right words. "Emily, we had no idea. We thought you were still just selling cars for someone else." I smiled, a little sharper this time. "That's what you assumed. I didn't correct you." Dad cleared his throat. "We didn't come here to fight. We came because, well, times are tight. Your brother lost his job and we thought maybe you could help. Maybe just lend us a car until he gets back on his feet." I walked slowly toward the center of the showroom, letting them follow me. I wanted them to see it all. The spotless floors, the busy sales desk, the wall of photos of me shaking hands with happy customers. "You remember the Honda?" I asked, turning back to face them. Mom winced. "Emily, that car meant everything to me," I said, keeping my voice even. "It wasn't just transportation. It was freedom. And when you sold it without asking me, you didn't just take away a car. You took away my trust." Dad looked down at the floor. Mom's eyes glistened. "But that day," I continued, "was also the day I decided I'd never let anyone hold my keys again, figuratively or literally. You sold my car, so I built a place where no one can ever take them away from me again." I gestured around the showroom. "This is the result." They were silent, just staring, not angry, not defensive, just stunned. "Finally," Dad said quietly, "we underestimated you." A rush of emotion hit me, pride, vindication, and an unexpected ache. Because for so long, I'd wanted this moment. "I know," I said softly. "And now you don't have to anymore." I motioned for them to sit on the leather couch in my office. The glass walls meant the whole showroom could still see me, but I didn't mind. Mom perched on the edge, clutching her purse. Dad stayed standing until I nodded toward the chair across from my desk. "I'm not saying no," I began, folding my hands on the desk, "but I am saying things have to be different this time." Dad frowned. "Different how?" "Different as in no more decisions about my life without me," I said firmly. "No more talking down to me like I don't understand money or responsibility. I built all this because you taught me the hard way that I had to stand on my own. And I did." Mom's eyes softened. "Emily, we didn't mean to hurt you back then. We thought we were doing what was best for the family." "I know," I said, and I meant it. But what's best for the family isn't always what's best for every person in it. I lost something that day, not just a car, but my faith that I could trust you with my choices. The room was so quiet I could hear the hum of the air conditioning. You want my help? I continued. Then here's what I need. Respect. You don't get to dismiss my career or my decisions anymore. If I give my brother a car, he works here part-time until he finds a job. No excuses. And I want the two of you to stop treating my independence like rebellion. This is who I am now. Dad exhaled slowly, his shoulders dropping. Fair, he said finally. Mom reached across the desk, taking my hand. You really have become someone incredible, you know that? I smiled, a small one, but it felt real. I had to. I stood and grabbed a keyring from the wall behind me. A cherry red sedan. Perfect for someone starting over. I placed the keys on the desk between us. He can pick it up tomorrow. And tell him he's on payroll starting Monday. Mom laughed through her tears, and even Dad cracked a smile. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't punishment. It was balance, a chance to rewrite the rules in a way that worked for all of us. The next morning, I watched from my office window as my brother pulled into the lot with Mom riding shotgun. He looked nervous, hands shoved in his pockets, shoulders tight, but when I handed him the keys and introduced him to the service manager who'd be training him, I saw something shift in his expression. Gratitude. Maybe even pride. Over the next few weeks, he showed up every day, washed cars, learned the basics of sales, and started talking about applying for jobs in finance again. For the first time, it felt like we were working towards something together, not against each other. Mom and Dad came by often, sometimes bringing lunch for the whole staff. They didn't offer unsolicited advice anymore. They just watched me run the business, smiling like they were finally seeing me for who I'd become. Late one evening, after everyone had gone home, I walked the empty showroom. The cars gleamed under the soft lights, lined up like trophies of every fight I'd survived. I reached into my drawer and pulled out the framed text from Grandma, the one I'd saved all these years. They can take your car, baby girl, but they can't take your drive. I set it on my desk, where everyone could see it. For a long time, I thought I built this place to prove them wrong. But standing there, I realized I'd built it to prove myself right, that the girl who cried in the driveway could become the woman who owned the whole lot. I turned off the lights, locked the door, and smiled to myself. They sold my first car, I whispered, but they could never sell my drive.